Hello and welcome everyone to the eBay Shopping Show episode 8. My name is Josh, also known as G1 Hextron, and I'm joined by my co-host Jaim, also known as Victory Saber 77. So we haven't done one of these in probably about a month, and we're going to be doing one a month instead of every other week like we used to do back in the day. But this show is going to be a little bit different. We wanted to kind of focus on helping out the new eBay shoppers and stuff like that, and maybe give you guys a few tips. But James got a few shows that he wants to tell you about and shout out his stuff. You can find me G1 Hextron on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and my Facebook page, the G1 Hextron.
And I'm Jaim Victory Saber 77. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter, and we do have a couple of other shows. We have the Cybercast every Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on G1 Hextron's channel. And then following, we have the Aftercast every Saturday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on my channel. And like what Josh said, we're going to kind of go over tips for the kind of the new eBay buyer, but this could also help veteran buyers out there also. And we're also going to take a quick look at some, the G1 Trypticon, and is it really worth trying to piece together an authentic G1 to the reissue that should be coming out later on in this year. So we'll take a look at that also. But what are the first tips you got for us?
All right, so I kind of put these in order on actually the way that you should do them. So the first thing is you need to identify what kind of collector you are. Are you a mint seal box, a mint box? Are you, I don't care if it's loose, I don't care if it comes, or I want it to have weapons, I don't care if it's loose, or even condition. Do you want it perfect condition? Do you not care? It's, hey, I finally got the figure, I don't care what condition it's in. So you need to kind of identify that at first, because if you decide that, I really don't care at the moment what type of, if it's mint seal box or mint box, whatever, and you just start buying them up, and then later on you decide that, I kind of want to be a mint seal box collector. Pretty much everything that you've done so far, you're going to have to go back and try to resell it yourself, and it'd be better off to kind of figure that out at the very beginning. I think most people, though, they're either good condition, 100% loose, or let's say just mint box, where it's open but it's in really good condition. And that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on and looking at today.
Yeah. And if I can just add really quickly, also, know what you want, and also I know there's some people out there that they want authentic 80s Transformers. They don't really care for the Encore or the the reissue type. So you have to keep that in mind too. Do you want something that's pretty much fresh out of the box that you want to kind of handle, put the stickers on, or do you want to get something that's 30 years old and stuff like that? Because I know a lot of people are like, I don't want any of the reissue stuff. I want the genuine article that came out back in 1984 and stuff. So.
And I was like that too whenever I first started off. I was like, yeah, all this stuff is all original. There's no reissues here. And, I was kind of proud of it, but I was like, who am I buying this for? I'm buying it for me. And do I really care if they're original or reissues or encores or whatever? I was like, not really. And then I started looking at figures like Jazz that, he's white, and, Prow, he's white. And I'm like, I don't want any issues with those, because I beforehand I had bought a Jazz and I thought it was great condition. I finally got it in. I was like, man, this looks like garbage, and I really don't want to deal with that anymore. So that's why I ended up going like Card Collection or Encore Commemorative Series on a lot of this stuff. Second thing is search previously sold. So this is where we're going to kind of get into the screen sharing and showing you guys. All right, so the way that you're going to do that, if you go over here to Advanced, and you just type in whatever you want in there, you're going to select Toys down here and click Sold Listings. That's all you need to do. Hit Search. I've got a few of them already put in here, so you see Transformers Commemorative. I didn't want to add too many words, because whenever you try to get too specific, then like if I put Transformers Commemorative Series or throw in G1 or something like that, some people are going to put that in their titles. So you're going to get some missed opportunities. So you want to be just kind of Transformers Commemorative, toys and hobbies, sold. Let's search it. And what it's going to do is it's going to list these things on the most recent one that has sold all the way down and a bunch of pages. You can see it's got 50 pages listed of, the latest date. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of show off, you'll see that a lot of these have a price or a line mark through, and it says best offer accepted. Uh, Even going down, well, those more on the Encore ones, I believe. There's another one right there for that Rodimus. So, I mean, you're going to have, there's another one for that Rodimus. There's another one for that Optimus Prime. There's a couple right there. So the point is that you don't always have to pay what people are asking. People will negotiate with you. And if you never ask, then you never know. They might take that offer. But what I want to do here is we want to kind of look at what sold, kind of the lowest, what's the high, the average. And you want to make sure that you write stuff like this down. I'm going to add in here Prowl. Well. And if you look at this, there's two things that you'll notice. One is you'll see bidding, and then some things that you'll see for buy it now. And one of the things that you'll see that's reoccurring is the bidding stuff is always going cheaper than the buy it now. Look at bidding, $30, buy it now, they went for 35. They reached agreement on this one, 34, 34, 32, and don't automatically think that these are going to be, the cheaper ones, the commemorative series, because let's see, you can go over here. We'll put Prowl as well, and look at this one, Takara Collection, 15, 40, 45, and then this one went 20. So here in just a couple of weeks, you had one go for 20, and then two for 40 and 45, and then here again, bidding 15. So I don't know what you wanted to add to that before we get into the next one, but James?
Real quick, we do have a comment.
Okay.
We're joined by Rexbot. He says, "Hey guys, how do you find out what part list a certain figure is supposed to have?" So I would check out some websites. You can even just Google transform, whatever transform it may be, and you can get a picture and kind of get an idea. You could check YouTube for reviews. A lot of resources online. Transformers Land, I know, Cybertron.com, TFU info.
Yeah, there's the info, and it's or wiki or what I forget exactly what it is, but it's not always 100% accurate, but it gives you a pretty good idea, and then take that and go double check, because a lot of this stuff, if you look at it open, like you can see Prowl's gun, it's the same for Smokescreen, it's the same for Blue Streak or Silver Streak, whatever one you want to call them. They got the black gun. For the Takara Collection, I know you can't see it there, but it's actually chrome. Also for these guys, they don't have the launchers. Basically, with your commemorative series stuff, you're not going to get launchers, but with your Takara Collection, I believe all those have, those have launchers.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be exactly the same. So like a hoist is going to be exactly the same whether you're buying Takara Collection or if you're buying a commemorative series, as far as coming with chrome weapons. You're not going to get the launching feature, but I mean, if you're a collector, how often are you using the launching feature? Skids is the same way as hoist. They come with chrome weapons, regardless if you get the commemorative or card collection.
Yeah, it's you also have to just realize, like with anything that's released here in the United States by Hasbro, it's subjected to safety regulations. So, like what Josh said, you're not going to get those launching features, the spring-loaded gimmick and you might see that the missiles are going to be maybe elongated because of that. The Seekers that were released at Toys R Us in the United States had that um, you know tweak for their missiles, that they were a little bit longer. Ultra Magnus was another one, even Optimus. So keep that in mind. Again, it goes back to the first tip that we said. It depends on, if you don't care about that, then totally go after that, because you're getting the figure that you want and everything else. But just keep that in mind if you're looking at it like, oh man, I really wanted that, what was released back in the 80s. Then you're going to be looking more at getting a Takara than a Hasbro, especially with like Optimus Prime with the short smokestacks, the elongated missiles, and stuff like that.
And also know what the weapons cost to replace. So let's say that you went with commemorative series, but you didn't really care if you got a or you were fine with that, but you just didn't want the black gun. Well, you can get a chrome gun, just because Smokescreen, Prow, and Blue Streak, they all use the same gun, and there's plenty of them online, and you can pick up the gun by itself for about $4. Now, one of the other little things I wanted to kind of get into is know what you're willing to pay. You're doing your research here. You're finding out what things cost. And we've kind of come across, we're using this Prowl as an example. We see here in February that one bidding went for $20.50. Then someone bought it outright, $45. One went bidding for $40, and then one just the next day, not even 24 hours later, bidding $15.50. I was checking to make sure everything is correct and everything's there, and they were just like, it's just like new, it's just been opened. So you kind of get an idea that this guy, $15.50. Here he went for $20. Here's one that went for $25. This one went for $23.50. This person, they paid $64. So this is, whoever bought this, they weren't really looking at the rest of this, because here one went, for $30, a little more. Here's a $30 one. Here's one that someone took less than $20. So just to kind of give you an idea, so for this figure, and we look at the commemorative series, we see 30, 34. There's a 34, 35, 35, 32. It actually looks like the cheaper deal is for the Takara collection, and that's the one that you're going to get the chrome weapons as well. So that's the one that I would go for. And you kind of want to find that out prior to looking the stuff up, to start to add to your watch list, to find out if it's going to get in that price range that you kind of set for yourself. But for this guy, I would say we're not going any higher than 25.
Yeah.
And I think you can feel comfortable about that. Like I'm saying, even if it goes over that, don't pay it. You've seen, plenty of the times that this guy is sold for $25 or less. Just be patient. It might take a month, might take 2 months, but eventually you'll get it for that price. And something that Jaim and I were kind of talking about earlier, where, you're not going to build a massive collection by paying the, 45 and the $64 for each one of these figures. Now you build a collection, and you build it a lot faster by being the guy that's paying $15, $20, $25.
Yeah. And also make sure that when you're looking at whether it's the Takara collection or the commemorative line, that if it's a mint in box, if they don't have pictures of everything, like the actual robot out of the packaging, ask for one of those, because you never know. That we were kind of discussing this prior to that, they could switch them out, and you might get in a Takara collection, you may be getting a Hasbro commemorative, and vice versa. So just kind of keep that in mind. But there's no, you can also just buy an original if you like, if you want to go that route. But again, sometimes it's nice to get the reissue just for the fact that it's, hasn't been handled, hasn't been touched, it's not, quite so old, and, because you have rubber tires and you have, the die cast and all that. wear and all that. So, moving on.
All right. Well, I was looking at something earlier. Where'd it go? Is that it? I'm not sure. Well, the next thing was, watch multiple auctions, but at the same time, check for lots. Sometimes you find some better deals in there. And the other thing that I had kind of goes in with that as well. Look for sellers that are selling multiple things that you're looking for. Um, I can't remember which one it was on. If it was, let's see. It was someone that had like three items, and what I was doing is I was just kind of scrolling through, and I was looking for kind of the same background. If they had a decent price and the same background, I noticed that, and I saw that they were asking, I believe it was $30 for each one of them, and I was like, you know what, I would offer them 75. And more than likely they'd take that deal, or they would probably say like, nah, how about 80? And it's $10 cheaper because they'd probably take that deal regardless, just because of the fact that they're getting rid of three figures instead of just one, and especially if they have it at buy it now and not bidding, because they know if they have it at bidding, then they're eventually going to be they're going to sell it whenever the auction's over. But if it's buy it now, that thing gets set up there for a year.
Yeah, and there's no harm in asking either, asking questions and such.
Yeah, and as we kind of saw earlier, that people are willing to negotiate. You make an offer, worst thing they can do is turn it down.
Mm-hmm.
So now, some of the questions to ask. Let's see if I'm gonna go off screen share here real quick, just because there's really nothing to look at. But some of the questions that you need to ask: chromeware, rubber tires, are they cracking? A lot of this also depends on where they live, and especially if you're talking U.S., if you're going to have more that rubber tires cracking if they live, and like if it was someone from like Wisconsin, than you would someone that lives in Arizona, or down south or something like that. So also is the white yellowing, also the joint tightness, and are the stickers applied, are they 100%, and is the figure broken? Now I know it seems very simple that they didn't say it was broken, so you should automatically assume that it's not. It's not the case. A lot of times you see the figure is what you see in the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times has that probably got someone over?
Especially when it's said in the description as is, no returns, all that. You definitely want to ask questions, especially, and we've gone over this a couple of times in previous eBay shows, where you're allotted like 12, 15 pictures in an auction or something
Yeah,
to that nature.
I think about 12.
And if you only take a picture of it in its vehicle mode, and you don't take a picture in its robot mode, I would definitely ask questions, because you can't see everything. You want to know if there's any like paint blemishes on the head or on the face and stuff like that, and you just want to, because this is your hard-earned money. You don't want to just like, well, I've always wanted, let's say, a Prowl, and this is going for $10. It has 2 out of the 3 chrome missiles. It's got the gun. Stickers look pretty decent. I can get some repro labels. It's not a big deal. But then you find out that the windshield top is actually cracked and is not even attached. But it looks like it's attached because it's in vehicle mode. And so you need to ask those questions, because some sellers are kind of shady on that. Or they'll give that description where, I'm not a Transformers, that knowledgeable with Transformers, so this is just what it is. Which, half the time I think that's kind of false.
Yeah, then you look at all their listings that they have in their. It's like they've got like over 10 Transformers on there. So
Or they've sold 10, 15 prowls already, and you're like,
yeah,
you don't
they
know
know
this character already?
they know exactly what it is. Um, and the other thing about asking the questions is if they're not willing to respond to you and answer these questions because they're selling you something and you're the buyer. And anytime you go buy something, you're asking questions. If even whenever you go eat somewhere, it's like you see something new on the menu, and so tell me about this, and stuff like that. You're always asking questions, whether it's about something that you're going to eat for lunch, or if you're buying a car or a house or something extreme like that. So it's okay to ask questions, but if they're the type of seller that they don't want to be bothered with answering those questions, then they're probably not someone you want to buy from. Because if they're not answering the questions prior to you buying, they're probably not going to answer them after they've sold it to you.
Yeah.
Because now it's sold. Now the deal's done. So
Yeah, and always, I mean, like description. There's a reason why eBay has the description there. It's for the seller to give as much detail as possible, and if it just says really good figure, good luck. You really need to ask questions. Don't hesitate. I know sellers don't like a ton of questions. I'm sure they don't, just for the fact that, this and that. But if you don't put a detailed description in your auction, then I'm sorry, you kind of deserve getting blitzed by questions. But on the flip side, don't ask questions when like the auction's going to be up in like 2 hours. Try and give that seller some time to be able to respond to you, at least 24 hours. If you have a question, it's a little more professional. It's more courteous because you can't expect a seller to drop everything to just answer your one question, which could be extremely important, but they all have lives too, and just kind of be courteous on that side also.
yeah, and anytime you find one of kind of off the test, but here's a few additional. Every time that I find someone that is, I like the description that they have. I like what the product looks like. It's just as described. It looks in great condition. It's bidding. They didn't start like bidding, starting at like $50. It was like, here's the bidding. It's low, and it seems like something that I might be able to, win. If a lot of people don't look for it that particular day or during that time, whatever the case may be, I'm always trying to look to get something cheaper than what it normally goes for. But I'll also go ahead and look at their other items listed and search for their Transformers or even other random toys and stuff like that. And usually they have kind of the same deal. Or if it is a buy it now, but it's a really good price, look at the rest of their stuff because you might find, let's say, like this one guy one time, whenever I bought a lot of mine, I think at one time, it was either, I think it was 9 or 10 Takara collections, and I think there were 3 commemorative series in there, and 10 figures I got them for like 260. So on average, I paid $26 a figure, and that was after shipping. So it was like 260 after shipping for 10 figures. I think all of them but 3 were Takara collection. The other 3 were, commemorative series. So I thought it was a pretty good deal. I paid more, I guess, for some and less for others, but it kind of averaged out to 26. And I always kind of thought that $25, to $30 is pretty good deal. I don't think that you can ever be mad at yourself, if you find one a little bit cheaper. But
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another really quick tip I would be weary of is stock photos. When you see stock photos, definitely that'd be a red flag to ask questions just for the fact that can I see the actual picture of the item that you have for sale? Because sometimes sellers will reuse other people's photos or something that they just get off the net. So just keep that in mind also.
all right, well that is pretty much it for that part. If we get done, we'll probably get done with the Trypticon thing here pretty soon, and just for fun, we can look for some reissues that, and we can just like knock off, knock off, knock off, knock off. I know a lot of people like to do that. So, all right. So with Trypticon, I'm just gonna go pricing, shipping, and lowest first. That's how I'm gonna sort. Now, if you ever want to buy a Trypticon, a lot of them I've seen ones before that have said 100% complete, and they're not. They're always missing like a couple of things. There's actually 23 things or pieces that you need to look for. One, obviously, the bot. You're going to have the battery cover, the large battery cover for Trypticon himself. His front ramp, center ramp, sometimes that is missing, and he also has the left and right helipad attached to him. Now, the reason I'm bringing up left and right, not because they're just one going to go on each side, but they are different as well. So that's something that you need to pay attention to whenever you're looking through all this eBay stuff, and you can see that there's quite a few accessories, some Creos for some reason in here, but I make it in 5 categories. I do the bot, I do the tank, I do, then I have 2 things of accessories, and then I have the different color accessories. I have the gray ones, and then I have full tilt. So those are the things with the bot. The second thing is the cannon, which lights up. You also want to make sure that these electronics work, but you got the cannon, the battery cover for the cannon. You have the large tower, the small tower, the left and right tank tread. Third category, you're going to have the left and right ramp. They're different, so we'll see that here in a bit. Left leg and right leg connectors. Then you have the gray weapons. You have the single radar, double radar, single laser, and laser stand for it. And then you have the double laser and the double laser stand for it. And then you have full tilt and his $50 to $75 gun, which I don't have. Now this is just a cannon piece that is in parts. We'll look at a better one here in a bit, but all right. So you can see this right here. This is the tank tread, or one of them that says the left here. You can see this is what the double laser gun looks like. This is what the single laser gun looks like. There is the small tower, and there's one right there as well. They're not always going to call it small tower, so it's best just to put in Trypticon and look through this stuff, but this one's obviously a lot smaller.
Yeah, or you can find them as a maybe you could find them as a collection, just because that tank is called burnt. So you could look under burnt, and you could maybe find all the pieces, together and all that. So.
And probably cheaper too. So you got left and right. We've seen all this stuff. All right, so this is one of the laser holders. One thing that I wanted to point out. A quick way to kind of identify this is the single laser holder is just a little bit different than the double laser holder. This one, as you can see, the 2 little, I guess I'm just going to call them little pegs or whatever, little notches there. That's for the single. The double will only have 1. It'd be a little bit different in design, but that's the easiest way to identify that. So there's the helipads, like I mentioned earlier. What the heck was that popped up? All right. You can see that they are different. It even says down there in the corners, L1, R2. Those are usually attached to the bot, but like when I bought my Trypticon, it was almost 100% complete. I was missing a couple things, and I was like, man, I can just pick those up along the way. I got it for a pretty good price, and it was missing one of the helipads. The guy never told me about it, and I didn't know about it because he was in his dinosaur mode. So, all right, and there is the big tower or large tower. Here's one of the ramps. It says right ramp. The other one's left is this little thing over here will be over here. And these connectors. What these are for are whenever you put him into city mode, You will open the legs up to extend those. These, so they're not sitting on the floor, it's kind of pointless, to be honest. But if there was one thing that you didn't get to make them 100% complete, it would probably be these, because they're not really necessarily needed. But
Well, they're needed for the Scramble City if you want to
if you
connect
if you want to add
Onslaught or
Motormaster.
Motormaster. So, but yeah, really.
God, who has that much room? I don't. But there is a right and a left. So I think we've looked at all those. Yeah, so there's only 4 pages total of Trypticon here. Okay, you're going to have 2 radars. You have the single radar and the double. You can see that this one's large. This is the single. I mean, just look at how expensive this stuff is. We're already at $16, and like I said, there's like 23 things to look for. And there's the little single little peg thing, and that's going to be for the double laser cannon. But yeah, be careful. Reproduction full tilt guns. And there's full tilt. Now you just need his gun. That's we're only at $19. That's gonna be way down there then. This is that centerpiece, or the center front ramp that I was talking about. Most of the time it is attached to Trypticon himself, but sometimes it's not, so just make sure that it is on there. There is the cannon, and you see that it has the battery cover already attached. And this is what the double radar looks like.
Yeah, and you have to be careful with that one because it's prone to being bent a lot. So you're going to see a little bit of stress wear on it potentially at times.
That one doesn't look too bad. That one looks pretty good. I mean, look, that was the first one that we saw. It's $30.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff is small too, so it should be like almost free shipping because it shouldn't cost a heck of a lot. Because most of the time I've seen people that'll ship out these little things in just like a white envelope, but charge like $3-4 for shipping, and it's like, really?
It didn't cost anywhere near that. Battery cover for Trypticon. You know, you might be thinking that it's just something simple. First one we've run across, $50. And you get the 2 radars there. All right, our first full tilt gun. Let's take a look at this thing here. Yep, that's it.
The bane of any Trypticon collector.
I don't have it. There's one going for 57. Like there's a full tank, but it says it's not functional. So I mean, you obviously want one that works. You can see that there's just a couple. You know, so you're looking at $50 at least for just the Trypticon body.
Yeah, and the Beast Wars second Gigastorm is not a die clone of Trypticon. So I'm just gonna throw that out there real quickly.
God, look at this, an empty box for Trypticon, and it's in horrible condition.
Probably doesn't have the styrofoam. Well,
$80 for that? Go buy one of those reproduction boxes.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, we're on page 4. Yeah, here's what the die clone.
That'd be Gigastorm, which is a really great, piece, but it has nothing except for the little Scout full tilt figure. It has nothing else that comes with it, so you can't part it out.
Does full tilt at least come with his gun?
Nope, he doesn't even come with his gun.
I was like, dude, it might be cheaper for me to just buy one of these guys. And what the heck happened here?
Okay. Nope, no gun.
All right, so you see this guy, he's missing quite a few things, one of them being full tilt's gun. I mean, he's already at 230. Um, this guy, he's missing several things as well, including full tilt's gun. He's at 250. This is the first one that we've seen that is 100% complete. Now, the box is crap, but he does have the styrofoam. He does have, all the pieces and stuff like that. There you can see. You want to make sure that you see that full tilt gun. You don't want to take someone's word for it on that. Trust me.
Yeah.
But 100% complete. I mean, the boxes again, it's crap, but $200 is the cheapest one, and then you can see that they just or not $200, $300 basically is the cheapest one, and then they just kind of start going up from there for the. And they can get high.
Yeah. Now, Trypticon's a great figure to have, and if we didn't have that reissue coming out, it's still decent price, getting one around 300, complete. But with that reissue coming out, yeah, it's definitely it's like Fortress Maximus. It's cheaper just to buy the Encore, obviously, than getting or building a G1 Fort Max.
Oh, so speaking of, I saw this when I was running across stuff, and I'm like, dude, are you not aware that there's an Encore out? You're not gonna get $1,400 for that thing.
For
I don't care
used.
if I don't care if it is an original. I mean, the box isn't in that, it's not perfect condition. No one's paying that much for this guy anymore. They're not even paying the 250 for the Encore.
Hmm.
I saw that and I was just like, oh, that's crazy. All right, you guys want to make fun of some people?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready?
Transformer. Okay, reissue and action figure. There we go. Let's just go to. Hell, we don't have to go anywhere. First one right here, knock off. Second one here, knock off.
Well, and again, going back to that first tip, I mean, if you're fine getting a knockoff and you want to, you just want to get something that you want to just kind of handle and transform quite a bit, then maybe getting a knockoff isn't a bad idea. Just, be aware of that if you are looking at getting something, that there are knockoffs out there for certain figures.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sad that when you have sellers that say this is a Hasbro reissue.
I mean, do they even come in here later and say that it's a knockoff? No.
But they do have a factory in China that makes cosplay costume. So that's some duly noted info I needed.
This is a knockoff, and it's also something that kind of bothers me whenever you watch some people's reviews and then they're like, oh, this is the reissue, that you're like you and I know that no, don't call it that because it's a knockoff. Just say it's a knockoff. Don't call it reissue because now, if they're watching, like, when I watch your videos, most of the time you're reviewing stuff that like I don't have, and it's like way expensive and it's like way down the line before I get it, but things that G1 for the most part, people maybe they want to feel a little nostalgia. Maybe they're kind of wanting to get into buying G1 stuff, but if you're sitting there calling it a reissue and we're saying, hey, here's a reissue Mirage, they're automatically thinking, well, let me go find that reissue Mirage that doesn't exist. It. I wish people would just completely.
Reissue.
Yeah. Knock off. Knock off. Knock off.
There was a black convoy though that was released in the Encores, not Encore, but E-Hobby series. But I doubt that that's the one. There's a Jaffcon.
That's a knockoff too. God, have we even got on the second page yet?
No, Sunstreaker.
Knockoff.
That's another thing, really quick, going back to the tips. Kind of be aware of, like, what we're talking about, like Trypticon here is being reissued. So kind of be aware of things that have potentially been reissued or is going to be reissued. So you can make that decision whether or not you want to go back and get the original G1, or, you know what, I know that there's a, let's say that Blitzwing Astro Train, or the Coneheads. There's a Conehead Platinum Edition. Instead of going back and trying to track down either the e-hobby reissues or going back and actually getting the original, 80s release. So just, keep that in mind also.
Wasn't another knockoff there? There's a knockoff there. There's a knockoff there. I mean, I can go quick. There's a knockoff there. Jesus, and now we get onto the second page. I mean, you can't even look under reissue. I mean, it is impossible if you don't know exactly what has come out already. And yeah, I think you're. Did you just mention this? That like, go look under card collection. Ask, go Google Takara Transformers Takara collection. Pull up a list. It's gonna have them listed like 1 through however many they came out with, right? And so that you can get familiar and have that right there, on like another tab or something, and know that that's part of the reissues there. Then do commemorative series. What came out in the commemorative series? Have that list there. Have the encores as well. Get familiar with what's actually come out and what hasn't. We can go through here again. Knockoff Astro Trains. That it's or not Astro Train. Octane not being reissued. Dinobots not been reissued. Same with Grimlock. Also, another thing with the Optimus Prime, you'll see a lot of times, not necessarily on this one here, but you will see where it says like Hasbro reissue or something like that, but it'll have the tall flap.
Yeah, the original 80 release box.
Yeah, the only ones that are going to have that are the Encore, and it'll have the number and say Encore and stuff like that. Be in Japanese. The flaps, they did away with that. You're just going to get a flat box like you kind of see right here. Excuse me. Yeah, like see, just the box right there.
Yeah. And plus, if it's Hasbro reissue, it's gonna have the small smokestacks. That's another indicator. You can see it right away.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Encore. Bam, there's a number. Oh wait. It's got the flap. So it's the Encores are gonna have the flap.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've mentioned this before, but these guys with the gold card, these are actually reissues. These are some of the first, or not, they're rich. They weren't the originals.
Yeah, they came out in the 90s in the European market. They used the gold packaging look and such.
Yeah, he says not reissue, but I don't think he knows exactly what he's talking about here.
But back then, though, there was nothing called reissue. So
yeah, it was just like, hey, here's them on gold packaging.
Yeah. So. It's like G.I. Joe. You get one wave, but then that character is going to be introduced again later on in the second or third wave. Doesn't mean it's a reissue.
Obviously, don't need to point out that those are knockoffs, but some of the harder stuff, because I mean, look at it. I mean, they're really good at this stuff. So I mean, knockoff.
Reflector and Blitzwing. That's a knockoff.
Third-party reissue lot, huh?
Sure.
Again, knockoff because they didn't do the flaps here. Same thing with the swoop, Insecticons. They've been in either Takara collection or uh, the was it commemorative series as well, or the TRU
Mhm.
reissue, the Takara collection, and then you're gonna have the platinum edition or whatever this game coming out. So that has definitely not been knocked off, or yeah, of course it's been knocked off. That's not authentic either. Yeah, this is the Toys R Us one that I was talking about. So this, on the other hand, is a reissue.
Yep. And it's only 40. It's used, but it's only $45 compared to the Kmart which is 80.
Yeah, that looks like it's gonna be like $80 or something like that.
So yeah, not sure about that one.
Um, like we were kind of talking about prices on the Platinum Edition stuff. Trypticon, he's probably going to be about $200. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I
Just
think
because
so.
of, especially if let's say he's got the electronics, say he's got everything that the original G1 came with, electronics. He's able to move. He's got the light up features and stuff like that. It's going to have to be 200 just because of think of he's not as big as Fort Max, and Fort Max started off at what 350.
Yeah.
Um, I think Trypticon's still going to be 200 just because of all the pieces that he comes with. Uh,
Yeah, at most maybe 250, yeah, I would say.
yeah, at the
Just
moment,
because
but I think he'll be the $200 range.
it's still a good deal.
I don't have Full Tilt's gun, and I mean I'm already like it's a quarter. That's over a quarter of the way. Uh, you know, um, I can see a lot of people parting them out because
Hmm.
as you kind of saw online, that a lot of people that are just going to end up parting them out.
Yeah. A
That's
lot of
what's going to
people
happen.
a lot of people did that with the Fort Max with like COG and um, the hip cannons, the little guns, even the Master Sword. A lot of people were parting that out. So yeah, I see that because like what we were looking at, Trypticon has quite a few accessories, and at times it's you know unless you're just gun ho and you want all of it, chances are you're going to display Trypticon in his dinosaur mode. So a lot of that other stuff you really you're not going to get, and then when you start adding them up, you're like, well, shoot, I could go get a masterpiece like Bumblebee that I don't have yet or something, instead of getting all the little bits and pieces to make his city mode complete, but I'm not going to display it in that city mode. So it's nice to have this reissue so you just get it all in one fell swoop and then you have it there and you don't have to start, tracking down things and such, and it adds up quickly.
And it kind of goes back to the first thing that we said at the beginning of the video, as far as a tip. You got to know what kind of collector you are. If you just want the body, you want something cool to set on your shelf, if you don't really care about the weapons or extra accessories to do different stuff, you need to kind of figure that out at the very beginning. I didn't. I started off where I'm like, I'm just getting 80 stuff.
Hmm.
I'm not touching those reissues. And you start trying to collect some of these figures that are white. You're like, they are not so white.
Yeah.
If you want them to be pristine the way that I wanted them to be, you're looking at some big money. And I was like, well, why do I want to spend that when I can just, let me just buy this, car collection one or something like that. And I ended up buying several of them for the price that I was going to spend on like 2 or 3 vehicles, just because I was going to have to get them in this pristine white condition and 100% complete, no flicks on the chrome because it's 30 years old. I wanted the tires, no cracks. Everything was like maybe transformed a few times. Well, I just implemented that money into 10 figures that were some type of reissue, and yeah, I'm satisfied with them. I was like, all right, this is kind of the way to go. So
Yeah. I was the same way when I first started back when like eBay was getting up and running. I wanted to just get stuff that I didn't have as a kid, and I just was buying stuff like crazy. Quality wasn't a huge factor until I started getting them in hand. I'm like, crap, I just spent money on this thing. I could have gotten this at like a garage sale. And then that was right when the reissues were coming out, so I was just like you. I was like, you know what? I don't really care. There's a lot of great reissues out there, and it's really nice to have that nostalgic feel to open up a box that hasn't been touched, put the stickers on yourself, um, and yeah, I don't really care if it's a authentic 83, 84 release, long as it represents what we had back then. That's my biggest concern. So I kind of stay away from the Hasbro stuff because of the safety reasons. But
All right, well, that is our show. It tried to put it together. This morning, early this morning, like 2 o'clock in the morning, so I was a little tired, but hopefully you guys got a kick out of it. Whether it was you're new to buying G1 figures on eBay, maybe we were able to help you out with some tips, or even if you're not, just it's kind of like just a format, a blueprint on some things that you need to make sure that you do. If you want to be able, do you want to be a guy that pays $15, $20 for something? You want to be a guy that pays $70 for it, for the exact same thing, and they were bought within 48 hours of each other. So it's doing your research ahead of time, finding out what things go for, asking lots of questions, know what questions to ask, know what to look for, you know, different stuff like that. So,
mhm.
anyways, James, you want to sign us out
Yeah,
and talk about the shows and stuff?
sure. I'm Victory Saber 77. Find me YouTube, Twitter, and we do have a couple of shows. The first one, the Cybercast, every Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on G1 Hextron's channel. And then after that is the Aftercast, which is on my channel at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Check those out this coming Saturday.
And you can find me, G1 Hextron, at Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and my Facebook page is the G1 Hextron. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
See you.